What's up, everyone? There's just something incredibly satisfying about watching an underdog rise to the very top. Seeing a character who starts with nothing, no talent, no reputation, no special powers, slowly becomes someone the entire world fears is one of the biggest reasons progression fantasy has become so popular. And that's exactly what today's list is all about. We're counting down 10 anime where the main character begins at rock bottom and earns every bit of strength along the way. Some of them are betrayed by their friends, others are abandoned, mocked, or born with abilities everyone considers useless. But instead of giving up, they turn their greatest weakness into their biggest advantage. To keep things interesting, I decided to skip most of the obvious mainstream choices. So don't expect the usual titles you've already seen in every top 10 video. Instead, you'll find a mix of hidden gems, underrated series, and newer anime that perfectly capture the feeling of watching someone grow from absolutely powerless into an unstoppable force. With that said, let's begin with number 10. 10. The world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat. What happens when the world's greatest assassin gets betrayed by the very people he spent his entire life serving? For most people, that would be the end of the story. For him, it's only the beginning. After his death, he's given an unexpected opportunity to start over in a completely different world. But this isn't a peaceful second chance. A goddess offers him a deal, be reborn into a powerful family, and prepare for a mission unlike anything he's ever faced before. His goal isn't simply to survive or become famous. He's expected to eliminate the strongest person in the world before that person eventually brings about its destruction. That alone sounds impossible. Fortunately, the protagonist doesn't rely on luck. Unlike many fantasy heroes who instantly receive overpowered abilities, he approaches everything like a professional. Every spell he learns, every weapon he creates, and every battle he fights is carefully planned months or even years in advance. Watching him grow stronger is incredibly satisfying because his progress always feels earned. He combines the experience of a master assassin with the limitless possibilities of magic, creating fighting techniques that nobody else in the world could even imagine. Another thing that makes this series stand out is its slower pacing. Instead of rushing from one battle to another, it spends time showing how the main character studies, trains, experiments, and prepares for future challenges. That attention to detail makes every victory feel much more rewarding. The animation is clean, the action scenes are stylish, and the strategic fights are a refreshing change from protagonists who simply overpower every enemy with brute force. If you enjoy intelligent main characters who always seem to be 5 steps ahead of everyone else, this is definitely a series you should know. 9. Black Summoner. Imagine waking up in another world, only to realize you don't remember a single thing about your previous life. That's exactly what happens to Kelvin. Before being reincarnated, he willingly traded away all of his memories in exchange for extraordinary magical potential. He has no idea who he used to be, what kind of life he lived, or even why he made that decision in the first place. All he knows is that he's stronger than most people around him, and he absolutely loves fighting. Unlike many protagonists who dream about saving kingdoms or becoming legendary heroes, Kelvin has a much simpler motivation. He wants stronger opponents. The more dangerous the enemy is, the more excited he becomes. That love for battle turns every major fight into something genuinely entertaining because you never get the feeling that he's trying to avoid conflict. Instead, he actively searches for challenges that push him beyond his current limits. As the story progresses, Kelvin slowly builds an incredibly powerful team made up of unique companions, legendary creatures, and skilled warriors. Together they explore dangerous dungeons, battle terrifying monsters, and uncover secrets hidden throughout the world. What really makes this anime enjoyable is its pacing. The main character grows stronger at a satisfying speed without instantly becoming unbeatable. Every new summon, every newly learned spell, and every victory feels like a natural part of his progression rather than a random power-up handed to him by the plot. The series also balances action and comedy surprisingly well. Between the intense battles, there are plenty of lighter moments that make the characters feel more likable and the world feel more alive. If you're looking for a fun fantasy adventure with an overpowered protagonist who genuinely enjoys becoming stronger, Black Summoner is an easy recommendation. And trust me, the next anime on this list takes the idea of starting from the absolute bottom to a completely different level. 8. So I'm a spider, so what? Imagine dying, only to wake up as one of the weakest creatures in an entire fantasy world. No legendary sword, no powerful magic, not even a human body. You're just a tiny spider trapped inside a dungeon where almost everything around you is stronger, faster, and more than capable of killing you in a single hit. That's exactly how this story begins. From the very first episode, survival becomes the main goal. There's no mentor waiting to help. No party of adventurers to rely on. No kingdom welcoming the protagonist as some legendary hero. It's just one tiny spider against an entire ecosystem filled with monsters that see her as their next meal. Every single victory has to be earned. Instead of suddenly unlocking ridiculous powers, she spends her time thinking, adapting, and finding creative ways to survive impossible situations. She sets traps, studies enemy behavior, learns from every mistake, and slowly starts climbing the food chain one battle at a time. One of the best things about this anime is how satisfying the progression feels. Every evolution changes not only her appearance but also the way she fights. Watching her transform from a terrified little spider into a creature powerful enough to challenge legendary monsters is one of the most rewarding journeys in modern fantasy anime. Despite spending a huge portion of the story completely alone, the protagonist somehow manages to make every scene entertaining. Her constant inner monologue, sarcastic personality, and refusal to give up turn what could have been a lonely survival story into something genuinely fun to watch. The world itself is also full of mystery. The deeper the story goes, the more you realize that there's something much bigger happening behind the scenes. Small details introduced early on slowly begin connecting together, making every new discovery feel important. This isn't just another overpowered protagonist anime. It's a survival story where every level, every new skill, and every evolution feels deserved. If you enjoy watching characters overcome impossible odds through determination and intelligence rather than pure luck, this series absolutely deserves a spot on your watch list. 7. Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy. Most fantasy stories start the same way. A hero is summoned to another world, everyone celebrates their arrival. They're handed incredible powers, a legendary weapon, and a destiny to save humanity. This story couldn't be more different. The moment Makoto arrives in another world, the goddess responsible for summoning him takes one look at him and immediately rejects him. She calls him ugly. She strips away his title as a hero. Then she teleports him to the edge of civilization, a place so dangerous that almost nobody survives for long. For most people, that would be the end. For Makoto, it's where everything finally begins. Left completely alone, he learns how to survive in a land filled with monsters far stronger than ordinary humans. As time passes, he discovers that the abilities he received before being abandoned are much more powerful than anyone expected. But what makes Makoto such an interesting protagonist isn't just his strength, it's his personality. Unlike many heroes who dream about fame or saving kingdoms, Makoto simply wants a peaceful life where everyone can coexist. Unfortunately for him, being unbelievably powerful attracts attention everywhere he goes. Before long, he's making allies with legendary beings, building his own community, and unintentionally becoming one of the most influential people in the entire world. One of the biggest strengths of this anime is its balance. One moment you'll be laughing at ridiculous comedy. The next moment you'll be watching beautifully animated battles against enemies that seem completely unstoppable. The world also feels surprisingly alive. Different races, kingdoms, cultures, and political conflicts make it much more than just another generic fantasy setting. As Makoto continues growing stronger, the story expands alongside him, constantly introducing bigger challenges without making his journey feel repetitive. If you're looking for an isekai with fantastic world building, memorable characters, and a protagonist whose strength grows naturally over time, this is easily one of the best underrated choices out there. And from this point on, the stories only get darker. 6. The Rising of the Shield Hero. Imagine being summoned to another world because you're supposed to be one of its greatest heroes. Sounds amazing, right? Now imagine losing everything before your adventure has even begun. That's exactly what happens to Naofumi. Along with three other heroes, he's brought to a fantasy kingdom to protect the world from catastrophic waves of destruction. While the others are welcomed with respect, powerful weapons, and loyal companions, Naofumi's story takes a completely different turn. Within just a few days, he's betrayed, falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit, and abandoned by almost everyone around him. Overnight, his reputation is destroyed. Nobody wants to fight beside him, merchants refuse to trust him, and even ordinary people treat him like a villain. To make things even worse, he's the shield hero. Unlike the others, he can't use swords, spears, or bows. His legendary weapon is designed almost entirely for defense, making it nearly impossible for him to defeat enemies on his own. Instead of giving up, Naofumi begins finding creative ways to survive. He learns how to use his shield in ways nobody thought possible, experiments with different abilities, and slowly builds a team of companions who believe in him when no one else does. One of the reasons this anime became so popular is because watching Naofumi grow feels incredibly satisfying. Every victory means more because you remember how badly he was treated at the beginning. Every new ability feels earned because it comes after countless setbacks rather than easy victories. The series also does a great job balancing emotional moments with large-scale action. As Naofumi becomes stronger, the threats grow larger too, forcing him to become more than just a survivor. He has to become a true leader. If you enjoy revenge stories mixed with fantasy, character growth, and satisfying progression, this is one of the strongest recommendations on the list. 5. Berserk of Gluttony. Sometimes the most dangerous power is the one everyone laughs at. Fate Graphite spends his entire life believing he's cursed. While other people are born with incredible skills that make them famous knights or respected warriors, Fate receives a strange ability called Gluttony. On the surface, it seems completely useless. All it does is leave him with a constant, unbearable hunger that never goes away. Because of that, everyone treats him like he's worthless. He's mocked by the people around him, looked down upon by stronger warriors, and forced to work as little more than a servant. No one expects him to accomplish anything, but everything changes after one unexpected fight. For the first time, Gluttony reveals its true power. Instead of being useless, it allows fate to absorb the strength, abilities, and even the skills of anyone he defeats. Every enemy becomes another step toward becoming stronger. At first, it feels like a blessing. Then he realizes the terrible truth. The stronger he becomes, the more impossible it is to satisfy the hunger growing inside him. Every battle feeds the power, but it also feeds the curse. That's what makes this series different from many other progression fantasy stories. The main character isn't simply chasing power. He's constantly trying to stay in control before that very power consumes him completely. The dark atmosphere, brutal fights, and mysterious world all add to the experience. As fate uncovers secrets surrounding his ability, it becomes clear that there's much more happening behind the scenes than anyone realizes. If you enjoy morally gray protagonists, darker fantasy settings, and abilities that come with real consequences, Berserk of Gluttony is an anime you'll probably binge in just a couple of days. And now, we're down to the final four, where every single protagonist becomes powerful enough to completely change the world around them. 4. Arifureta, from commonplace to world's strongest. If there's one thing that instantly makes people root for a protagonist, it's watching them lose everything. Not because they made a mistake, not because they weren't strong enough, but because the people they trusted turned their backs on them. That's exactly how this story begins. Hajime Nagumo is just an ordinary high school student who suddenly finds himself transported to a fantasy world along with the rest of his classmates. While everyone else receives powerful combat classes and incredible abilities, Hajime ends up with a profession that seems almost completely useless. Instead of becoming a legendary swordsman or an elite mage, he gains the ability to manipulate materials. Compared to everyone else, he's by far the weakest. His classmates don't expect much from him, and even he begins to believe that he'll always have to rely on stronger people to survive. But everything changes during one mission. A single act of betrayal sends him falling into the deepest level of an ancient labyrinth, a place where no ordinary human is supposed to survive. For most people, that would be the end. For Hajime, it's where his real story begins. Completely alone, surrounded by monsters far stronger than himself, he quickly realizes that nobody is coming to save him. Every day becomes a fight for survival. Food is scarce, every injury could be fatal, every battle feels impossible. Little by little, he adapts. He stops thinking like a frightened student and starts thinking like a survivor. He creates weapons using the very ability everyone mocked, learns from every encounter, and slowly transforms himself into someone almost unrecognizable. One of the biggest reasons people enjoy Arifureta is because the main character changes in more ways than just his strength. His personality evolves just as much. The kind, timid teenager disappears, replaced by someone who understands that survival sometimes requires impossible choices. That transformation gives the story a much darker tone than many other fantasy anime. The action is fast-paced, the world is filled with dangerous creatures, and every new dungeon feels like another impossible challenge waiting to be conquered. If you like stories where the protagonist has to crawl his way out of absolute despair before becoming unstoppable, Arifureta delivers exactly that experience. 3. Mushoku Tensei, jobless reincarnation. Second chances don't come often, and when they do, most people would probably try not to waste them. The main character of this story spent his first life making one bad decision after another. Filled with regret and missed opportunities, he dies believing he'll never get the chance to become a better person. Then something impossible happens. He wakes up as a newborn baby in a magical world. But unlike many Isekai protagonists who instantly become heroes, this story takes its time. We literally watch the main character grow from infancy. Every spell he learns, every sword technique he practices, every friendship he builds, feels like another step in his journey toward becoming the person he never managed to be before. That's what makes Mushoku Tensei so different. It's not just about becoming stronger, it's about becoming better. Of course, the power progression is still incredibly satisfying. Thanks to years of training and natural talent, the protagonist slowly develops into one of the most gifted magicians in the world. But the anime never makes that growth feel easy. He fails, he makes mistakes, he loses people he cares about, and every experience changes him in some way. The world building is also among the best you'll find in modern fantasy anime. Every kingdom feels unique, every culture has its own identity, and even side characters receive enough development to feel like real people instead of background extras. Visually, the series is stunning. The landscapes, magic effects, and emotional moments are all beautifully animated, making it easy to understand why so many fans consider this one of the greatest isekai ever created. If you're looking for a story that combines incredible character development with meaningful power progression, Mushoku Tensei is almost impossible to ignore. And now, there's only one spot left before we reveal the anime that many fans consider the ultimate weakest to strongest story of the modern 2. Failure frame. I became the strongest and annihilated everything with low-level spells. Being summoned to another world usually sounds like the beginning of an incredible adventure. You imagine legendary weapons, loyal teammates, and a chance to become the hero everyone looks up to. For Takamamori, it turns into a nightmare almost immediately. The moment he and his classmates arrive in a fantasy world, they're evaluated by a goddess who decides who has potential and who doesn't. One after another, his classmates receive powerful abilities that earn them praise and admiration. Then it's Tauka's turn. His skills are ranked at the very bottom. Without hesitation, the goddess declares him completely useless. Instead of giving him a chance to prove himself, she throws him into a dungeon that no ordinary person has ever escaped alive. To everyone else, he's already dead. But that's exactly where his real journey begins. Unlike most protagonists who rely on overwhelming strength from the very beginning, Tauka has to survive using nothing but intelligence and patience. Every step through the dungeon is a gamble. Every monster is stronger than he is. Every mistake could be his last. Slowly, he starts experimenting with his so-called worthless abilities. That's when he discovers the truth. The skills everyone dismissed aren't weak at all, they're simply misunderstood. Used correctly, they're terrifying. As Tauka grows stronger, the tone of the story changes with him. Frightened student who only wanted to survive gradually becomes someone capable of standing against entire armies. His enemies underestimate him because of his rank, only to realize far too late that they've made a fatal mistake. One thing that really separates this anime from many others in the genre is its atmosphere. This isn't a cheerful adventure filled with jokes and lighthearted moments. It's dark, it's brutal, and it constantly reminds you that surviving in this world comes at a price. If you enjoy revenge stories where every victory feels earned and every battle has real tension, Failure Frame deserves far more attention than it gets. 1. Solo leveling. Some stories are entertaining, some are unforgettable, and then there are stories that completely redefine an entire genre. This is one of them. At the beginning, Sung Jinwoo isn't just considered weak. He's known as the weakest hunter alive. Even low-level dungeons leave him covered in injuries, and most people can't understand why he continues risking his life when everyone expects him to die sooner or later. He's not respected. He's not feared. If anything, people feel sorry for him. But one mission changes everything. After surviving a mysterious dungeon unlike anything anyone has ever seen, Jinwoo awakens a strange power known simply as the System. For the first time in history, someone can continuously level up just like a character inside a video game. Every quest completed, every enemy defeated, every stat increased makes him stronger than he was before. Watching this progression is what makes solo leveling so addictive. The series never asks you to believe that the protagonist suddenly became unstoppable overnight. Instead, it lets you enjoy every single step of the journey. You see him struggle, you watch him take risks. You celebrate every new ability because you remember exactly where he started. As the story continues, the scale grows larger with every episode. Small dungeon raids eventually become world-changing battles. Ordinary monsters are replaced by enemies powerful enough to threaten humanity itself, and the once-forgotten hunter slowly transforms into someone capable of standing above everyone else. The animation, soundtrack, and fight choreography only make that journey even more satisfying. Every battle feels cinematic, every transformation feels earned, and every victory leaves you wanting to see what comes next. Whether you're completely new to progression fantasy or you've watched dozens of anime with overpowered protagonists, solo leveling still manages to feel fresh because it understands exactly why people love stories about growth. It isn't just about becoming stronger. It's about proving everyone wrong, and that's exactly why it takes the #1 spot on today's list. And that's our top 10. Hopefully, you discovered at least a few new series that deserve a place on your watch list. Whether you prefer darker revenge stories, classic fantasy adventures, or protagonists who slowly become unstoppable through hard work and determination, there's something on this list for everyone. Now I want to hear from you. Which anime do you think deserved a higher spot? Did I miss a hidden gem that more people should know about? Let everyone know down in the comments. I always enjoy checking out your recommendations, and who knows, they might even end up in a future video. If you enjoyed this countdown, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more anime content. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.